Our next lesson then. So your title today is going to be Area of Triangles. So last lesson we looked at compound shapes made up of different rectangles. Today we're going to be looking at the area of triangles. Again, you'll need your ruler. So, area of triangles. Let's start by drawing a right angled triangle. So something that looks like that. Let's put our little right angle signal there so that we know it's a right angled triangle. So we are going to be trying to work out the area of that triangle. So for our rectangles, we just did the base times the height. In fact, let's label this as base, or maybe I'll just use the letter B, and I'm going to call this height. But from now on, I'm just going to use the letter H. Okay? Now, in fact, this height is a little bit more than just the height. We need to just write a little bit more about this word. What we actually mean is what we call the perpendicular height. What that means is it has to make a right angle with the base, just like that. So this height, when we're talking about the height of the triangle, we're talking about the height that makes a right angle with the base. Makes a right angle with the base. Now that is so important. I can see you reaching for your highlighters. That's really, really, really important. So whenever I say height, what I'm actually saying is perpendicular height, meaning it's going to make a right angle, and you'll see later why that's so important. Okay, right, so how am I going to go about working out the area of this triangle? Now, if it were a rectangle, you would know what to do. So let's pretend that we've got a rectangle. So let's make that triangle into a rectangle, like that. If I gave you that rectangle, you'd know what to do exactly. You would say, I need to do the base times the height. Well, how much of that rectangle do I want? I only want half of it. So once I've found the area of the rectangle, if I divide it by 2, that will give me the area of that triangle. So let's write ourselves a little formula. So area of triangle equals the base times the height. Now remember, that's the perpendicular height divided by 2. Just perhaps if that's gone out of your head, that line means divided. So I'm going to do the base times the height, then I'm going to divide it by 2. Okay, so base times height divided by 2. You'll have seen this before, a lot of you, but for most of us it was months and months and months ago, perhaps even one of the first things we did this academic year. So we just need to try and remember all these things. Then we're going to move on to circles, which I don't think you'll ever have seen. Well, you'll have seen a circle, but you'll never have seen how you work out the area. Okay, so let's have a look at an example of a couple of triangles. Again, I would be making some lovely notes about this. So let's have a look at this triangle. Okay, and I'm going to put my right angle there, and I'm going to say that that's 8 meters and 3 meters. So you're probably thinking, oh, it's the other way up. Doesn't matter. And in fact, I'm still going to call this line here the base. So often we're going to call the horizontal one the base. So I'm going to put a B there, and then makes a right angle, look. So this is my H. It makes a right angle. So my base and my height. And then I'm going to write really neatly. So my area is going to be base times height divided by 2. So I'm going to do 8, that's my base. My height is 3, and then I'm going to divide it by 2. 8 times 3 is 24, then I need to divide it by 2. 24 divided by 2 is 12, and I'm in area, so it's going to be meters squared. Okay, so that's kind of a bog standard right angled triangle. That's not too bad at all. And some of the questions on the sheet, you'll notice, are just like that. So that's fine. And then sometimes the triangles don't look quite like that. So sometimes the triangles look a little bit different. The good news for us, though, is that we can always use the same formula. So let's draw ourselves a triangle that looks a little bit different. Let's draw ourselves a triangle that's got a base like that, and then its point is going to be up here somewhere. So let's do something like that. So this isn't a right angle triangle. Let's put some numbers on it. So let's say that this is 15 centimetres, 8 centimetres, 12 centimetres, and let's say that this height here, so this is where it all gets a little bit strange, this height here is 7 centimetres. What a lot of numbers. Given that we only want 2 numbers for our formula, now you might want to just pause and copy that down and then pick up again. So we've got this triangle. Now there are lots and lots and lots of numbers on this triangle. Our first job, we need to be kind of like detectives. Our first job, we need to find the 2 sides that we're interested in. So remember, we need 2 sides, and they need to be what we call perpendicular to each other. They need to make a right angle. Well, this one doesn't make a right angle with anything, so we can kind of get rid of him. We don't really care about him. This one doesn't make a right angle with anything, so we don't want him. Now, look at these 2 that I've got left. 12 is this base length here, and then it's told me that the height of my triangle, I could in fact move that 7 into here. That's the same thing, isn't it? Yeah, I've just moved that 7 along. It's telling me that from the bottom line to the top point is 7. Now, look, what have we got here? We've got 2 perpendicular sides. That 12 and that 7 are perpendicular. So let's label them. This is going to be my base, and this is going to be my height. Okay, so I've got my base and my height now, so I'm going to times them by 2. So my base times my height, let's write it out really neatly. So area equals base times height divided by 2. You're going to write that every time, because in your exam that would be your mark. That would show you your method. Okay, so your base is 12 and your height is 7. Then we need to divide it by 2. So 12 times 7, if you don't know it, do 12 times 10 and 10 times 7 and 2 times 7 and add them together. So 84 divided by 2. And 84 divided by 2 is 42. And what am I in? Centimetres squared. Okay, so that our first job there was to be a bit of a detective. We had to try and find the height and the length that we're interested in. Once we'd found them, then we could just use our normal formula. Okay, so you're looking for a right angle. You can't use this formula until you found a right angle. Circle the relevant lengths or label them, do something. You're looking for the 2 lengths that make a right angle, and they're the 2 that you're going to use in your formula. Okay, right, I'd like you now, please, to have a go at worksheet number 2. Okay, remember, you can always contact me if you've got any questions at all. Okay, right, best of luck then with worksheet 2.